All right, I gotta put down my outline and switch over to live mode. Welcome, everybody. My name is Margaret Pinard. You're on my channel. So you're on Booktube. Welcome to this corner of Booktube. We are on a Wednesday, which means it's time for a Wednesday wrap-up. Lately, for the past month, I've been holding the books for 2 weeks, so I have a good stack. And I have a good stack for you today to report on with my reviews. I thought I'd have 5, and then I had 6, and now I have 7 because I finished one late last night. So they range in my review and also in genre, content, subject area. So hopefully the diverse selection will mean you'll find something that you might want to read out of today's book reviews. Also, it is the 25th of October, which means we're less than a week out to NaNoWriMo. And yeah, as I said when I started, I am getting excited, finally, about my outline. For some reason, the blank page was scaring me, so I just started working on Post-its. And I've got character, I've got an inciting incident, and I've got like climax moment, but I need to work on the setting, and that's what I was doing, researching for the past hour before I switched over and made sure that I was ready with my book reviews. So hopefully you're enjoying getting ready for NaNo if you're in the writing space or reading some good books. Feel free to drop those in the comments if you have seen good ones. Oh. Twitter API, not going to work today. All right, excuse that. I just had to change that. Not on Twitter today. That's fine. Hi, YouTube. Hi, friends. If you're new here, this is the sort of crazy chaos I run with. So welcome. Settle in. Shannon was here early to say hello. RC was here to say hello. Anita was here, and Victoria just popped in. Hello, Victoria. Nice to see you guys. Hope you guys are having fun getting ready for NaNo. If you're like a last minute trickster like I am, then I'm glad we're in this together here at the end of all things. So hello, and I'm going to be pulling, if I forget anything, from my Storygraph, in case you're not on Storygraph and don't know what it is. It's like a book reading tracking site like Goodreads, but better and independent. So I'm just popping in my link in case you want to follow my reviews there. And you're more of a written review person instead of a listening. So there we go. I'm going to start with an overlay. And let's see. Here we go. I'm going to start with the highest rated book. Why not? So this was a sneaky book. It's not for a readathon. I just sort of like squeezed it in there. It is an ARC from Libro.fm. We love Libro.fm for audiobooks. They are the independent alternative to Audible. This is Black Ghost of Empire by Chris Manjapra, and it came out in 2022, so it's not new, but for some reason I just saw it on my Libro account, if that makes sense. And I was like, oh, the long death of slavery and the failure of emancipation. And for some reason, the description hooked me, so I started listening to it. And boy, howdy. So if you watch this channel, you will know that I read a lot of nonfiction about politics, about history, about economics, all that kinds of stuff to try to make sense of how we got into the mess that we're in now and what's the best way to get out of it and save the planet, just something small like that. And so I read a fair amount of books, but they don't always hit right. They don't always inspire. They don't always feel like, oh man, that really hit home. That really resonated. This one, what? I've been like, okay, maybe this is why I've been labeled a spam commenter, because I've said like to 5 different people something that they were talking about. I've left a comment about this book because it's such a lens changer in the way that if you read a book and then you start seeing everything through a different lens because of the things that you know. It's great. So basically what the Black Ghost of Empire does is it talks about transatlantic slavery and uses different empires. It focuses on the French Empire, the British Empire, and then the American Empire, and how they conducted their emancipation campaign or process, and how they were all problematic. And I thought it was really fascinating because, number one, I never hear about other empires. So to hear the French and the British one, I obviously know a little bit more about. But the French one in the Caribbean and the sugar colonies and all that. And then they also had examples from the Netherlands and Spain, especially with Cuba. And those were sprinkled in. So hearing how other people did it, how the precedents were set, how gradualism was completely the wrong precedent to set. It was really fascinating. So just like in one of my stories in Fabled Passages, where there's a moment where someone's in history witnessing like a turning point in America for African Americans and slaves and freed slaves, and like how that develops in America. There's like pivotal moments like this in this book that are just, light bulb moments. So I really recommend this to anyone who is interested in history and witnessing those moments where like a whole bunch of people's lives changed because of how one battle went or one administrator wrote something, and it's just really good. So, and the latest thing that has been reframed. So I've been like commenting on all these other people's works or interviews saying, oh, it's just like Black Ghost of Empire. And I'm distributing it. So no one's getting annoyed at this unless they're following me and all my comments. But yesterday on The Thoughtful Bro on A Mighty Blaze, Ben Fountain was on. Ben Fountain wrote Beautiful Country Burn Again, which was one of my favorite nonfictions to recommend about general American history. And he has just come out with a book called Devil Makes Three, which is sort of centered in the experience of how America has been entangled in Haiti's political history, and in a really interesting way. It's modern. It's like, I think in the 90s during the coup, which is 97, can't remember exactly, 93, 94. And so he's talking about this and the history of Haiti and everything. And I'm just like, yeah, it's just like Chris Munchausen said. So anyway, I really, really like this book. And of the 7, I definitely would recommend this as my favorite today for anyone to pick up. Get it from the library, get it from Libro.fm. Just give it a try. What have we got in the chat since I've been talking a bit? Shanna says she's starting Fourth Wing next week. Caving to the high pressure. I respect that. Anita says, I'm getting ready for my book launch. NaNo will have to take care of itself. Excellent. Fairy Tales and Nightmares. That should be very cool. Victoria Talks Writing says, I've seen a lot of good reviews for this one. Really? I haven't seen anything on it. So this is why I was like really excited to crow about it. Deidre writes romance. Hey, Deidre. Hi, friends. Dropping by to say hi. Smash that like button. Thank you, my dear. Appreciated. Okay. So now that the gushing is over, let's return to my final in the series. I read Etched in Bone by Anne Bishop. Now, this has been a long journey. This is 5th in the series, but what happened was I think I read 1, 2, and most of 3, and then didn't get through 3 for some reason because it started dragging, and like put it down for 7 years. I don't know what happened. So I really like the setup of the world, which is like kind of like Hunger Games, because you have things called different things, but they're set up kind of to mirror our human institutions and history. But in this world, let's see. Europe is where most of the people have evolved, and they tried to conquer North America. But in this world of paranormals, there are other beings, big, strong beings who can squish humans under their thumbs. And so whenever the humans get too big for their britches and start trying to take over, like Humans First and Last movement, which sounds eerily familiar, the others get together and say, do they need to go extinct? Do we really need humans in this world? And there's these people who are trying to bridge the gap between humans and others and say, well, they do some useful things. They make books. We should keep them around for the books, right? And the cookies. The cookies are definitely good. So there's a lot of humor in here, especially with like interspecies and like understanding, which I appreciated. But the third, fourth, fifth book, third one especially, sort of like slows down. There's parts where we go into many different perspectives. The scene shifts. We see like the same action or hear about the same action, and it's reported to us in a different point of view, and we have to listen to other people thinking about what to do. And then we shift back, and then another person hears about the next actions, and it slows it down a lot. So I was a little disappointed. The last book in this series, the fifth, I mean, there's other characters in the world after this, but this is like the main storyline. Etched in Bone is the last one. It does have a satisfying conclusion, and I definitely read this one pretty quickly. Very entertaining. But yeah, it's like a 3.5. So yeah, if you're looking for a paranormal with action and humor, start the series, see how you like it, and see if you want to keep going. I'm not like a person who says, oh, and once I've started a series, I have to finish it. So I was just like kind of on the fence, but I did finish it. Like that's one of the first ever that I finished. So that was kind of exciting. Cool Shifter Worlds didn't hold up over the 5 books. Still entertaining. Okay. That is Etched in Bone. The next one I have for you is Hazardous Spirits by Anbara Salam. She's a little preoccupied now. She's got Palestinian family. So like I've tried to help a little bit by like on her pub day tweeting and doing this review, because this is a Tin House book and I have an ARC. So I'm trying to support in exchange for like getting a free version of this. It's historical fiction. It's set in Edinburgh in the 1920s, post World War I. So it was right up my alley. And it also involves spiritualism in a big way, hence the title. It centers around a young woman who is married and the fact that her husband starts hearing voices from ghosts. And she has, through the entire book, lots of status anxiety. So there's an event alluded to before that her family was sort of ruined because of her dad's speculations. And so they used to be really wealthy, and now she's sort of like with this guy who's poor, and her family is kind of like trying to get back up to wealthy, but still just like middle class. Anyway, status anxiety. And so she's very concerned about doing the right thing and her reputation. So when she has her husband tell her this, she's number 1, worried about him. Number 2, worried about them. And number 3, worried about how the rest of the world sees her. And that's basically because she has a secret in her past that she doesn't want to be revealed. And so she has points in this book where she doesn't believe that he's hearing anything, and he's just like medically having issues. And that is in the context of all the veterans coming back, many of whom have issues, and you can see it in public venues, on the streets, etc. And there are also points in the book where she does believe that he can hear things because he's coming up with things that he couldn't possibly know and telling them to people in public spaces. And she's like, how did he know that? There's no way. It can't be a trick. So you see kind of her internal struggle to believe or not believe, to confide or not confide. And big warning, I enjoyed the writing. It has a very ambiguous ending. I liked the ending. I can imagine what happens, and I don't have to see it happening. And I don't have to see if I'm right. So if you don't like an unclear ending or an ambiguous ending, I would say be careful. But I really liked the setting details because she does a great job at grounding her main character in a very sort of, not voluble, that's talks a lot. Not virulent, that means transmits easily. Or something. What's the word I'm looking for? Where like lots of things, volatile. Third time's a charm. Time period in the city and having lots of little details. I tweeted one to Christy Stratos because it was so, this is a setting detail, a thumbs up doll. Thumbs up coming from thumbs up, meaning like a little doll to try to like take away your worries. World War I. It's like a little worry doll, if you've ever seen those. I grew up with those. So really well written, very anxious character. Definitely like made me feel twitchy being in this character's head. And interesting story and details and empathy. So I really enjoyed it. So really liked that one, and really cool cover. Okay, next one. Next book is The Care Manifesto. So this is a little one. I got this on the impulse of a moment. It's The Care Manifesto by the Care Collective, and it's just like a little primer, as a manifesto should be, I suppose, even though I don't read that many. And I got this at Up Books. So the first time I went in, it was one of the first things that I saw that made me realize, ooh, this bookstore is curated for me. So the Care Manifesto is about trying to find an alternate to capitalism, like a different kind of economics. So instead of how 20th century white middle-class Americans saw the world and what it should be, changing the priorities to align with like caring for everybody and making sure enough people have necessities rather than 1% claiming it all, because that's just not right. So I liked it. It was pretty easy reading. There's some scaffolding of like how this would be accomplished, and it's a little British centric, I think. It's very internationalist, but I think the Care Collective is centered in Britain based on some of their examples. But I would have liked more demands and a manifesto. That's what I was expecting, especially in terms of like what kinds of programs, like what are your education, housing, health, whatever infrastructure things, like what, that sort of thing, rather than relational feelings. It was more about how do we care for each other in this domain, and then it's sort of like rippling out, which I like, which feels very Buddhist to me. But I guess it's too small to go into the here's what we should concentrate on, here's how they'll feed each other, and that sort of thing, because that might be particular to country. So good read, interesting one. I'll be passing it back. Okay, now I get to take a break. I didn't bring my water over here. Oops. Felicia's here. Hello, friend. RC is back with the pumpkin head. Thank you. Shannon says 2 more days until the book release for Anita. Wait, releases? Oh, okay. Release. Fairy Tales and Nightmares, 9 fairy tale retellings. Thank you for the link, Shannon. Yeah, so if you're feeling nightmare-y, Anita's got a pre-order on. And if you're feeling Christmas romancy, Emma Bennett's book is out today, The Christmas Truce. So, or A Christmas Truce. So yeah, lots of friends putting beautiful things out into the world this week. It's lovely. Cool Gamer says hello. Felicia says hello, everybody in the room that we can see. And all the lurkers. Why not? I love it. All right. And then now we're going to get into 2 books that I've reviewed in different venues. So I will just pop those links into the chat for future reference if you're watching this on the replay. I did a book swap with Mariah Enkenman because she's this amazing book talker. And I saw Emma Bennett tagged me for this swap, and I thought, oh, I'm going to pull Mariah onto Booktube, because she doesn't do Booktube stuff. She does book talk stuff. But she's really fun, and I wanted to read some of her books, so I wanted to help with her newest release, which was 24th, yesterday. So this book just came out. It's called Perfect Imperfections, and the link that I dropped in the chat is my book swap video, which is also basically my standalone book review for Perfect Imperfections. And as you can tell from the lovely cover, it's a steamy romance. It's not short. It's like a full book length. And it involves a person in a contemporary setting, Colorado. She works in a zoo. She's got OCD. So hence the title and the sort of double entendre. And it's got, let's see, what tropes? We've got single dad. We've got saved from the icy water in the penguin enclosure. Who had that on their bingo board? Not me, but it's a great inciting incident. I really liked it. And really, I think the best thing about this book for me was the great emotional pacing. So as I said in my review, I liked that both sides have struggles, right? So one side, the woman is struggling with OCD and letting someone in now that she's got sort of a stable life and not being judged. And on the other side, the single dad has issues with like his wife disappearing and sort of abandonment stuff and wanting to protect his daughter and changing, like adapting that situation. And so I just thought that she staged it really well. It's not like a final 11th chapter 11. That's not it. It's not like a 90% through breakup scene. It was a very like considered, and I don't know, it made sense to me. And so it made the happy ever after even more delightful. And this makes me very excited to plow through Mariah's backlist because she's got 15 other romances, folks. And they're all like really fun, quirky meet cutes. Like a firefighter shows up and someone mistakes him for a stripper. So that's fun. And yeah, so you can see how she can make really fun TikTok videos out of all that. So yeah, so I recommend this one. Very good for a romance. The other one that I've reviewed elsewhere on the channel, along with some of my author colleagues, is this one, which is an author writing craft book. And the thing I dropped in the chat is my video in the playlist we all released on the same day, sort of coordinate the attack. This is 5,000 Words Per Hour, Write Faster, Write Smarter by Chris Fox. He's very well known. He's done very well by this book. He's written, I think, 5, 6, 7 fantasy novels. And this is his advice about how to write fast so that you can develop your skill and put out more work and make a living. And as you will see in my review, I was not the audience for this book because I was very skeptical of his advice. It might help someone who has not done a sprint before, but I am obviously past that category. So yeah, it didn't help me much. I need a book that is titled something like 5,000 Ways to Get Your Butt in a Seat and Your Brain Engaged to Get Through a Freaking Book. Because like I feel like I've been in a swamp and I get all these ideas and I get like 20 to 40% through and I'm like, I don't see the ending. How does this resolve? Which is, life. But so far we haven't chosen a book to all review together that has that theme, but we're working on it. Shannon and I are trying to find something that might be more in my zone. But yeah, there we go. But I did make a funny recorded video, so if you want to check that out in the chat, I'm very proud of it. Actually, when I do edit my videos, I try to make them entertaining with the filters and the cuts. So I hope that was entertaining. And then finally, do we have a finally? Is that everything? Oh yes, my sneaky book. All right. So last night, maybe 10 p.m., guess what I finished? I'll go back over the chat. 11th hour. Thank you, Anita. I was chapter 11. I was so close, but no. Yes, Shannon says, I always know my ending before I start writing, so that probably helps. Yes, that's what I'm trying to do with my NaNo outline this time. I have a climax moment idea, but I need to get into the setting to make sure that it works for the ending. We'll see. Shannon says, I love the video. Yay. And Shannon and Andy pointed out that theirs were like 5 minutes and Emma's and mine were like 15, which is kind of like on brand. So I don't know why it was such a point to make. All right. The last sneaky book was, of course, a romance. So because I have been reading things like obligatory things like an ARC that I signed up for, or a library book series I needed to finish, or a swap that I agreed to do, or a writing craft book that I agreed to do months ago, I was feeling very like, I'm not getting to read what I want. So I finally broke down and read Grace Burroughs' The Bridegroom Wore Plaid, which is a used paperback I picked up at Jan's Paperbacks in Beaverton. And I love Grace Burroughs. She's one of my 2 favorite romance authors to dip into their vast backlists. The other is Mimi Matthews lately. And I have to say, I was a little disappointed in this one. So the issue is not with the sex scenes. The sex scenes are great. Oh, didn't I write this down? Oh, I did it in my storygraph. Okay. Sex scenes are still great, but she tackles 4 different couples in this like regular size book. So it's like 4 storylines. And maybe if you're Shannon and you plan out 4 books at once and you're writing them all at once, this is what you get if you don't split it up into 3 or 4 books. But I was kind of like, why are we? There were too many perspectives. We were in the perspective of the main male and female leads, fine. But then also one of the younger brothers, but not the love interest of him. And then the scheming uncle, but like, I wasn't sure why. So it was sort of uneven. It was too much. And it was too slow because of all those things that were being packed in. That said, sex scenes were still good. Yes. And the other thing I really liked about this one is that it's a very interesting setting. So it's like 1850s, early 1850s in Balfour. Balfour? No, that's the Lord's name. Right next to Balmoral, basically, in the Highlands in Aviemore, near where this Elizabeth Rothy Marcus lived. And so they're the next door neighbors of Victoria and Albert. And that sort of plays into the plot. But also you get a little bit about the industrialization. You get a little bit about the economic recovery from the famine, clearances, and that's contributing to the desperation. But yeah, there were too many couples. And so she had to skimp on character development. And there were some characters that I confused and then just got really annoyed with. So unfortunately, my first Grace Burroughs sort of womp womp disappointment. That's okay. That's okay. We still enjoyed it. We still got through it. So that's my 7 books for the past 2 weeks. And I have dropped 2 past videos in from Sunday, but I want to draw your attention to 2 future videos for Friday. I know I'm getting a little ganged up on here. It's just scheduling, folks. So we've got Final Friday is this Friday, the 27th of October. So that means I've got a productivity sprint, and that's just 9 to 11 my time. And it's do whatever you want, just have some company. I do these for First Friday and Final Friday, so that's the one thing. And then because it's also that Friday in October, it's a fireside chat. So later in the day, 5 p.m. my time, I'll be chatting with Elizabeth from Bouquin and Books. And in case you don't know, Bouquin is a French word for books, like these kind of books, novels, and especially like it makes me think of a cheap paperback novel. People like to just go through them at speed. So yeah, she lives in Canada and loves reading books. So she's going to be a Booktuber guest for a fireside chat. And we'll just be talking about books, doing some reading, maybe some creative stuff to charge our batteries, because that's what those are about. Shannon's telling us that's also the first day of the Storytellers Hearth Rathon. You guys are going to tire yourself out at before NaNo even starts. Starts at 6 p.m. CDT, which means 4 p.m. So it's going to be during the same time. But she's a booktuber, so maybe it won't be the same audience. We'll see. We'll see. But that should be fun. That's what I've got coming up. And on Sunday, I don't know that I'm doing anything special. I'll just do like a prep and plan. Because I will be needing to get my butt in gear for NaNo. But my Patreon book club will also be discussing The Night Circus, which I need to start. I'm just loving the nonfiction right now. So I need to get my head out of that and hop over to read The Night Circus and discuss with my Patreon folks on Sunday. So that should be fun. Historical fantasy. So yeah. You have to finish your short story pronto. Yeah. So, oh goodness. That is it for today. 7 books and some videos to rewatch, some videos to plan for if you need some productivity sprint buddies. But otherwise, I hope your reading is going well. I hope your preparation is going well. I hope you're tasting life multiple times in multiple forms and taking care of yourself. And with that, thanks for watching. I will see you again soon.